Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Ordinary Show. We're starting a new season. April, what season are we in? Oh my God, I'm losing track. I think we're in season 26 of Beyond the Ordinary. So we've been doing this 9.5 years already. And I'm telling you, each season just keeps getting better and better. And I can feel how those of y'all, so many of y'all who've been here since we started BTO, and then anyone who's new from Masami's community or that's new to Beyond the Ordinary, just welcome and just prepare for another extraordinary season. We have amazing guests on in the next coming 10 weeks leading up to Christmas, and the energies that we are transforming through, and the information, the knowledge, the roadmaps as they're unfolding, and how guests like Masami Covey are really inviting us into an awareness of how we can really be masterful in this great unknown is just, it's priceless. So I'm excited to be here with you all and just thrilled that we get to have the type of experts that we do on the show. And so with that, today we're going to go into the topic of transforming COVID and grief through your lungs. And it's Masami, if you haven't experienced her before, and many of you have because she's been on quite a few times now and through other platforms as well. It's the way she addresses through her, not only her medical intuition, but also her very grounded application through nutrition and a pathology that is available through us that doesn't exclude, but that takes us to a different place of pharmaceuticals, and how that relates to our ascension, who we're becoming, how we're grounding it into our physicality, and honoring both our spirit and science, our intuition and our physiology. And I'll let you find out more about Masami if you want to read her bio a little bit later. It's on the sales page. We'll go through the special offer a little bit later, but I don't want to delay anymore. I want to get straight into what's coming up through our lungs, what COVID is helping us to access, not what it's taking away from us, what it's helping us to access, and go deeper into that conversation. So Masami, it's without further ado that I want to welcome you and thank you so much for kicking off the new season. I always love being with you.
Thank you, John. I'm just like all smiles right now because I'm super excited. And yeah, kicking off the new season, 26, seriously?
Yeah, I know, I'm getting old.
How old are you? You've been around here for a long time.
I know, old school, but what can I say?
Oh, yeah, it's just been such a journey. You know, this has been only less than a year ago that we actually met. And what a crazy journey you and I.
It's less than a year? No, it seems like I've been here for like 10 years. It's crazy.
Less than a year. I know. I was thinking, I'm like, wow, this is what it is to live in a 5D world. I swear that time is warped. Time is like speeding up or slowing down. It really is not a linear fashion in which it moves. And this shows between us.
Well, and I'm so glad that you said that we're living in the 5D realm, because I have that conversation as a community and membership and all that. It's like, when are we going through our ascension? It's like, we're living in it. And that's why it may seem like chaotic in our world and different things are happening, because we're organizing according to that template that we're in right now. It's not that we're organizing to get there. We're there.
Yeah. And so this is where our inner bodies, our physiology gets a little bit confused, right? Yes, we're in 5D. So stop searching for it in some ways, saying, well, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. No, we've been in it. We are it. This is it. Because on Saturday morning, I cannot believe I had 3 hours of literally inner wisdom bubbling up inside me. I could not sleep. I took my notebook out, my pen out, and I just started writing. Just, you could call it downloading, I suppose, on one hand, but it did not feel like a top down kind of a message. It was more of an inside out and outside in. It was very circular. So I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And one of the main themes, I mean, there were so many, but that came through this 3 hours of writing that was very much in my body. You know, a lot of people have these experiences and they say, I had almost like an out of body experience. Not in my case. In my case, it was like in my body kind of experience. And what I wrote, this inner wisdom was saying to me was like, the universe tagged you. So you're it now, you know, meaning you're the universe now. So how are you going to play? You know, this is a game you're going to be playing. You are already playing it. You've been tagged as it. So it's like knowing that I'm the universe. I carry all possibilities. I am it. So really show up. But this is where this inner wisdom is saying to me, this is why, Masami, you're here to teach this stuff. Not just about talking about how amazing the 5D will be, how to be, you know, to ascend the ascension journey, but we're already here. However, our 3D body also needs some support still, because we still have some leftovers that we need to take care of. Could be emotional, could be, you know, maybe literally physical. You may not have had good stool movements today. Okay, well, that's something, you still got something left over in you. So it might be phlegm, could be showing up in different ways. Maybe lymphatic system is stagnant. You might be dealing with edema. Maybe you're having this sticky cough that is coming up. Okay, these are the things that we really need to support right now. So this, I don't want to call it the word vehicle, because then we put it into the mindset like we're just going to get the tire changed and oil changed for my bodies. It's not, it's so much more sacred than that. But this body that houses our soul experience on this earth and balances our spiritual needs and spirit that is manifesting in us, this vehicle or this bodily form must be taken care of so that we can transition fully into this 5D world that we're already in. So I hope that makes sense. Like we can't skip that. We can't skip this body.
No, not at all. And in context to that, and to give anybody who may be new to you that's listening right now, context for what you do, describe how it is that you work with people. And then we'll get into, I want to get into this conversation about the lungs, and not just for COVID, but for other reasons, because I've been having experiences that I want to relate, that I think other people can relate to. And it'll provide so much context and awareness that I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So how do you work with clients? What is it that you...
Well, I think it's what's been interesting is refining and maybe getting to know the niche that I work with. And that's been very helpful for me to define what is it that I do, right? So I do work with a lot of people who are spiritual seekers. They're genuinely beautiful, heart-centered people. They're generally very intuitive. They could be channeling things. They can actually be in the realm that I can't even, really possibly get into that level. I mean, they operate at this level that is awe-inspiring to me. Many of them have, I would call them labels. I would say empaths or highly sensitive people. I mean, we need to move past those labels as well at this point. But let's say people who tend to be on that sensitive edge, okay? I do work with a lot of them because they have, in the journey of finding spiritual expressions of who they are, they've forgotten the soul that's been housed by the body. So I actually it's not a dichotomy or a separation, but there's a spirit and there's a soul. So the spirit is something that we all share. We all come from this great spirit, okay? Many spirits could be fine, but the expression of that is different. So your soul expression, my soul contract is different than yours, but that is being expressed through our bodies. Our body is the one that houses that. So what I'm interested in when I work with the spiritually oriented or people who tend to be on the sensitive side and intuitive, I want them to come back to this body so they get in touch with the soul expression a little bit more. So it's like, I'll give you an example today. I was working with this beautiful client, just a beautiful, from inside, outside, outside, inside. I mean, just a gorgeous human being. And she's here to support others. But when I tuned into her, I said, oh my gosh, when is the last time you actually stood up and did some squats? So I actually took her through some squats. We did it together. I did it together over the Zoom, and my thighs are burning, hers are burning. I could almost see the smoke coming out of her thighs. And we both, and then we, tapped and clapped our bodies all over, all of our bodies, and got our blood flow, our skin starting to vibrate. And then she said, oh my gosh, I'm in my body.
Yeah.
I feel so grounded. So that's the work I do, is that knowing that you're this spiritual being having this human experience. I get that, but you're also this body housing the soul that needs some attention here. And that's the work that I do, is to bring you back home. Yeah.
And you bring this through this amazing combination of what I would call being so intuitive as a health intuitive. And you work with anatomy and nutrition and supplementation, detox protocols and things like that. So you really merge it. So there really is an emergence of, again, a grounding in and coming to a wholeness of the mind, body, and spirit. But again, keeping it within, because I've been having that inversion experience more as you described it earlier, and it's profound.
Yeah.
What's coming through us as we're embracing being that divinity, because that's what's being asked of.
Exactly. We're it. I mean, we're already playing this tag game, and we've been tagged already. So, and I will maybe take everybody through a little practice to try to really feel that in your body, that you are this divinity, you are this cosmic flow, you are this universe, you are God and goddesses. Okay. I would definitely take you guys through that, because you want to feel it in your body. This has to be a visceral experience. And when it comes to when the COVID started to become one of those things that we started to go, wait a minute, what is going on here? What is going on in this world? About almost a year and a half ago, or more than that now, right? Almost 2 years ago in a way, by the time end of this year. This is when I had a profound dream. This was before, so it was 2019 in December. I had this profound dream and I wrote all this dream down, because the dream was saying to me, you've got to teach people to come back to this body, because this is going to become super important in the equation of body, mind, spirit. And it's that body part was always a little whisper, right? It's like, well, yeah, I know the body's important, but it's body, mind, spirit. It's all about mind and spirit. But this dream said to me, pull out everything you know, from yoga to Ayurveda to meditation to herbalism to nutrition and movements. Bring it all, breath work, everything. Bring it on, and bring that into the equation of body, mind, spirit. That is what you're here to do. And so the COVID really opened us up towards that. So in a way, I thought, wow, this is exactly what we need. In order for us to ascend, we must descend. You see, we can't always be looking up and being pulled into the heavens when we're missing the Mother Gaia and we are needing to ground ourselves. So in order to ascend, we must dive deeply and settle into who we are. And so I thought, okay, this is happening. This is great. But then I began to see the patterns kind of unfold in all of us, which was, what is the quick fix? What can I take? What are the supplements that I need to do? Where's the silver bullet? And we stopped taking care of ourselves. For a while there, people are like, okay, I need to take care of my breathing. I need to eat better. What are ways to do to support immune systems? And I started to think, oh, this is the direction we need to go. Because if we were to all collectively elevate who we are, we really need to collectively elevate and support this. But started to fizzle. And this year has been kind of interesting, because a lot of us are just starting to go, oh, I did that. I did the vitamin D. I did this immune protocol. I did this and I did that. So it's like, oh, there's got to be some sort of a silver bullet. And I started to see that in my clients as well. And I thought, wait a minute, this means we're superficially addressing our being, and especially our lungs. because our lungs hold so much of our grief and sadness, but that's just the beginning of our lungs emotions. Lungs second lobe actually holds our anger and frustrations and rage and even hate. Well, look how much of that is surfacing out into the world for the last 2 straight years, particularly last 2 straight years, because we haven't addressed that part of the lungs. We just take these shallow breaths and go, oh, I'm grieving, I'm sad. Okay, we can deal with that, grief and sad. But we haven't gotten to the roots of that. What are the root causes of really anger and frustrations? That's what's feeding into our grief and sadness collectively. And in the third lobe, this is the hard part. This is the part that most people do not want to go into. This is your deep-seated, crusty old emotions of greed and assumptions and expectations. And if we don't get to that deepest level of your lower part of the lungs, you can't really actually release your own grief, your sadness from your past lives, as well as your ancestral grief and sadness, your transgenerational grief and sadness that we've all experienced as collective human beings, till we get to the second lobe and be honest and brutally be honest and open to your own inner greed. Even wishing that you're not have greed in your life is actually greed. Yeah. So I'll pause there for a moment because I could go on.
No, I know you can. And it's so aligned with my personal experiences over the last year and the hierarchy in which you talked about it. And what's been happening in my, it's like all of a sudden, like 8 months ago, I started noticing my breath became really shallow. It's like, why am I shallow breathing? I'm typically such a deep breather, and it was coming up. And then layers of it, and then like really like almost like feel a hurting and an exhaustion of not getting in enough oxygen because I was breathing. So, but at the same time, also feeling the feelings that I really process the grief of the ending of this or the death of this or this person or this, and going deeper into about knowing that I was going into it. It was an organic thing that was happening to me and through me. And just recently, expectation was a big thing that was coming up. Greed, not necessarily that I can tie into. So I'm glad that you're bringing this up from my personal evolution as well. Where am I wishing something was the way that it isn't? And where am I striving towards that and trying to force it when it's not organically unrolling that way? Because in 5D, it's a different type of way of creation. It's not a push-pull relationship. It's a co-creation. It's different. And so that reduces greed, that reduces expectation if we really want to function and thrive in these energies that are available to us. So it's fascinating because I have felt it, and I have felt the shift even over the last couple of weeks as I have let go of even more expectations relationally and how people show up in different ways and surrendered into that. And my breathing has gotten deeper. It's like naturally. I haven't tried to force it. I didn't have to try to get into things. As the emotions released, as it processed out, and you know that I've done like thousands of hours of personal development. God, it's crazy. Thank goodness it's my vocation, if you want to call it that. But there's a lot to it now. How does it relate to what you're seeing is occurring with COVID as well? And what are some of the things that you're using on yourself and taking your clients through to help them with this transmutation?
Yeah. And then if I may add a little bit to the topic of greed, because it's really deep, and then I'll go into what you just asked me. But, you know, when you hear the word greed, I think most of us just go, ooh, I don't want to go down that road, because that is like, I'm not talking about that, or I don't have that, I've worked on that. But what I'm asking all of us, and that's asking me as well, I have been really asking myself, where's that greed showing up? And it's often for me, it's in the sense of not enough. Greed shows up because greed is all about wanting more, right? So it shows up on seeking as well, like so many of us have been on this seeking journey, the treadmill of seeking. And we need to get off that treadmill of seeking and start walking your life and say, I'm going to walk the path of knowing. And I have found it. Okay. I have arrived. We have to get to the place that we have arrived. You feel, okay, I'm grounded. I know enough because I know enough in me to trust who I am. But I feel like a lot of us, the greed shows up in like fear of missing out, right? Or hoarding information. I see that a lot in even the spiritual communities, right? They're like, a lot of people say to me on a lot of things that I'm doing, they say, man, you share so much, you just come out and share all these information, all these things that you can do immediately to support. And I'm like, why hoard?
Right.
Then I am restricting my diaphragm that moment. But there's so much hoarding of information, hoarding of specialness, hoarding stuff. Yeah, that's a 3D level, but I'm talking about in order to really shift into 5D, you've got to let go of hoarding what's so special about you. And I'm just going to tell you this quick story. This was years ago. This was about 20 years ago. I went to this it's called Shambhala Center in the mountains in Colorado. And it's a Tibetan Zen, Tibetan monk and Zen priests are there, but also they do a lot of workshops and things like that. I was visiting a friend and I was, 20 plus years ago. So I was quite young then. I go into this one room, this gorgeous place, and I saw beautiful calligraphy done by a Japanese Zen teacher. And I looked up, it was beautifully framed with gorgeous, glass on it. So it was prominently displayed. So it must meant something. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this calligraphy and, many of you know, I'm from Japan, so I can read the character and I'm sitting there and I'm angry at this thing. Okay. Because it said ordinary on there. Okay. Prominently displayed. How just ordinary. That's the character, 2 characters that represents ordinary. And I sat there for the longest time fuming. No, I worked so hard to be extraordinary. Okay. Why would this be prominently displayed? And then, so I was there for about a week. And at the end of the week, I was still not quite sure about it. But it took me another 10 years of going back to that place, back and forth, and did my own work. And then 10 years later, I remember going into that same room, sitting down. And I looked at it and I said, I get you. I get you. I think that's when I let go of the greed to want to be extraordinary and know that there's so much beauty in the ordinary of waking up in the morning and smiling and seeing the sunrise and the breeze and a cup of coffee that my husband makes that is all decaf because I've been forcing him to make only decaf, and that sweet man will make me a decaf coffee. That ordinariness of the aroma of cup of coffee. I am in awe with that, John. I am in awe with that ordinariness. Yeah. And that's what I think COVID was teaching us, And if we blinked too much, or if we try to make extraordinary out of it, or we got too greedy with, I got to get more information. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm missing out on whatever. Okay. Then you lost touch with the ordinariness, the beauty of the ordinary. So then, anyway, but I know I want to answer your questions, but I forgot about your question. So maybe you can ask me the question again.
I'll ask you again, but I want to get into, it's not too many people are aware of the concept of beyond the ordinary and how it really came in. And so beyond the ordinary, you have to realize that, again, ordinary is the middle spot and beyond can be either end of the polarity of that. It's not just going up and descending, and like it actually includes both ends, because all of it is part of the beyond, right? And of that center.
Right. And if you don't know the ordinary, and if you can't pause long enough to say, wow, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It makes me tear up. But if you don't if you don't come to that point, you can't get beyond the ordinary. You
exactly.
can't.
No.
Yeah.
you don't have access to it. It's not even a fine line. It's just the alchemy. It's the chemicals that ignites it. So the question I was asking, how do you help your clients get into the space of realizing the emotions and also what they're putting in their bodies and how to really support themselves to open up the lungs, to open up this intelligence center?
Right. Thank you. Thank you. So I think we want to approach this from the macro and the micro level, right? So this is why I kind of put this topic of COVID and lungs, COVID and grief together into this same topic. And I send it to you and I said, this is what I want to talk about. And I think you're used to me creating some crazy, connections when I talk. But one of the things is that on the macro level, we have created disconnect. We have created a lot of loneliness, a lot of isolation through COVID. We have created ways to separate who we are from each other, not listening to each other, deeply listening to what each other's trying to say. We've created individualism. We created, exceptionalism. We have created tribalism, otherness. But what I started to see is that these are the things that we're doing at the macro level, but we're doing the same thing at the micro level, right? We are dividing ourselves. We are not looking at our health. Health means wholeness. That's why I call myself the health intuitive and purposely coined that term and not to call myself the medical intuitive. Because yes, I can get into that level of medical intuitive, but I am interested in the true sense of wholeness. Wholeness means health, right? In dictionary, health equals wholeness. That's what I'm interested in. So I don't want to be divided, but more we get divided outside of us, more we feel divided. Some of us are divided between the right lung and the left lung because our body actually tends to twist towards the right a little bit. Okay. Most of the people don't know this, but physiologically, this is why I love physiology and anatomy, is that your pipe comes down and it actually twists a little bit. Think of it as a tree root, twists a little bit towards your right side. So we're always a little bit collapsed on the right side. Okay. But the right side has 3 lobes. The left side doesn't, right? Because the left side has the heart. So when the right side is collapsed, you are going to have endless amount of grieving that you can't seem to feel like I can never get through this grief, or I can never get through this sadness, or gosh, the anger just bubbles up and I don't know what to do. I feel so separated from people. I don't have the tribes that I can speak to, or I don't have close friendships. So you begin to separate, and then that angers you. But that means you're also separating your right lobe, right lung from the left lung. So what I've been trying to teach people, and this is actually for many of you is a new information to you, so this is a great practice you can do at home, is to actually stand a little bit more on the left foot, okay? And purposely do the yoga pose, if you're doing a yoga pose, to do the tree on the left leg as a standing leg. And that actually shifts your dynamics, okay? From being crushed towards the right, and many of us are right-handed as well, okay? So if you're left-handed, your right side tends to get kind of crushed because of the anatomy, okay? So standing on the left and just even reaching your left arm, cross it towards the right side while you're standing on the left foot. And many of you, if you're just doing this, you could do this. You could stand up and listen to me and stand on your left foot, and then actually reach across using your left arm across the center line past the right side. That's going to actually shift your lungs a little bit into the left side. Then the left side can begin to tune into the heart center a little bit more, because the left lung is the gateway to your heart center, right? Because it houses your heart, because your heart is so important. It's surrounded by the rib cage and your lung, right? Lung is like pushing up against the heart saying, I'm the gateway to you. I'm the gateway to you. I'm protecting you. So I hope that makes sense, that when you are divided inside, the world is going to be divided as well. This is when we'll be seeking things into a specialization, you know, so you go to specialized form of medicine, right? So you go for one oncology for certain things, and you go to psychologist for something else, and you go into
Ophthalmologist.
yeah, for, you know, your eyes. And so you go to different people. But when you can begin to balance just your lungs, even by standing a little bit more on your left leg, that is going to begin to shift you and bring you back to balance. So what's outside is what's inside, right? What's above, so below. So I feel like the division in you, also the lungs are front and the back, right? So much of us are so concerned about what is my front, right? How do I appear to others? How do I show up in the world? So we're all concerned about how do we, you know, maybe make more money? How do I get more recognitions? How do I be looked up in the social media? You know, how do I get more Facebook clicks? I mean, I'm not saying that's what all of us are doing, but there's so much frontal energy. It's like, yeah, you know, hold that position, you know, power position. However, there's a backside to your lungs. And if we don't address the backside, we don't get to address our past, what has happened in our history, on this human history, but your personal history, your family history. So when you breathe, you want to think of your breath as frontal and back and side to side, and see if you can emphasize your left lobe a little bit more than the right lobe. I mean, in terms of the, you know, balance, and make sure that the right lung isn't getting crushed. Then you're going to be creating a little bit more balance within. This is when you're going to begin to feel, I feel enough. I feel that center place that you talked about, right? Coming back to the ordinary, the beautiness, so that you can get to the 5D more easy, not get to, but you can embrace it more, take it into your day-to-day life, because you're in it. You're in this beauty of 5D already, but you want to balance it in every direction and not get so caught up. So it's very important you stand in front of a mirror sometimes and take a look at, hey, which shoulders am I higher? You know, am I breathing? Take a look at through your hands. Your hands are your inner eyes. So you could place your hands at your ribs and go, oh yeah, my right rib is hardly moving when I breathe. I need to focus on that. Or you can say, wow, I only breathe shallow breath way up in my lungs. Man, no wonder I'm just recycling my grief and sadness all the time. Or you might say, I get to my second lobe. Yeah, I'm processing my anger and rage quite well. But maybe you didn't quite get into the expectations. This is where the COVID stuff comes in, right? It's like issues of which party are you? Are you vaccinated? Are you unvaccinated? Are you on this side? Are you not on this side? Are you sick? Are you not sick? And we get into this expectations of, I did this way, so you should do it this way. Or I feel this way, so you should believe this way. And we're dividing ourselves, but that's because we're divided inside us. Yeah. So
I think we're also growing through a period of expectations of the safety that we had created for ourselves, and how, as we've stepped into this 5D and we're living in it, that those constructs have really, they don't have the footing to stand on anymore. And so the expectation of the illusionary safety that was there, because it really was, there was a semblance that was keeping us stuck in our evolution. And we've transitioned for that there's grief of that expectancy as well being gone. It's a deep-seated ancestral past life, future life resistance that we have, expecting that those safety mechanisms to be there, and a betrayal perhaps that we feel that it's not there anymore. And so where does that betrayal energy and that grief energy come from as well? Is that from the lungs also?
Oh yes. So the lungs are huge. It can be up to 800 square feet in size. when you stretch the entire lungs.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh yeah, 800
Wow.
square feet. Yeah. So that's about 75 square meters. Okay. For those of you that know meters, that's a huge surface to be collecting. And they're not just stretched out surface, right? It's not a flat surface, has all these little, movements, ripples, all kinds of sacs that connects. And I mean, so there are many ways to hide all these emotions. And why are your lungs so big? I mean, in surfaces, this is bigger than even your large intestine, okay, in square footage. So why are these lungs so big is because this is the place that we get to filter. This is the place that we get to process. This is one of the main organs in the body that is every day, all day detoxing and filtering and taking in the outside world and an inside world coming out. This is so exposed to the world. Do you see that? Like the lungs are so exposed. Your stomach isn't exposed to the outside world, except you put your food in and it'll go through. But the lungs are immediately exposed to the outside information, outside emotions, everything that is outside, whether it's toxic particles or, toxic air, whatever, toxic thoughts, you are breathing that in. That's why I think we're created with this large surface to process. So, some of these emotions just get stuck in this little area that you didn't quite get around to vacuuming it out, or, no cleaner found that little corner that all the dust bunnies were collecting, right? And this is why we need to spend some time with the lungs. We need to set aside time and say, I am going to devote the next even 10 minutes and say, I am going to breathe out the fear that I have created, or I'm going to breathe out the resentment that I have. I'm going to breathe out the betrayal. Betrayal is a big one. That gets stuck in your lungs as well. And why do lungs process so many more emotions than the other organs? Because we all know that the liver is related to anger, right? Kidneys are related to fear. There are many emotions that we hold different areas, but the lungs carry pretty much all your emotions because it's large in its size, and we can go without water for a while, right? We can go without eating food for a long time too, but we can't go without the breath for more than most people 3 minutes, right? Yeah. This is why this is such a key area that we need to work on is our lungs, because it's the master of all organs. Because if this stops breathing, we're pretty much done. And we breathe 27,000 times per day. So you have 27,000 chances to reset yourself, to reconnect with yourself, come back to taking care of you so you can fully show up to this 5D world, right? 27,000 times of chances you can connect with. That is not some, I didn't just tell you, hey, you only have 3 chances and you're done, No, you get to do 27,000 times per day, 10 million times every year, right? So you can do this today. Yeah.
You absolutely can. And again, going back to how we started the conversation is that it's the importance of the embodiment, the importance of bringing in through our physical being what we're ascending or have ascended into. It's imperative. So to even breathe within and wondering why we have done all of this transformational work and worked in our limiting beliefs, worked in our trauma, working on cutting cords, working on karmic implications and all, we've done it all, but why is this still coming up? It's because the embodiment part is coming up, and it's that final frontier. So we're polite when we call them cobwebs or dust in the side, and it's really not. It's really a big part of this trifecta of our evolution, and we're going through the final stages of really getting to a place of being in wholeness. And what that does for our aging process, for capacity to tap into and live in other energies, for our intuitive capacity, our empathy, our compassion, and how we create the world around that intelligence that we garner because of that, it changes everything. But really, for me, the body is the last. We saved it somehow, most of us, not all of us, for last. And how beautiful though. And so rather than suffering through, it's like, wow, look at where we are. And we get to show up in this body moment by moment, breath by breath. It's the presence that's dictating everything for us. So this is amazing, Masami. I love the way that you explain it.
Well, I love that. I love that it's the embodiment, really. And is this the last frontier? Maybe, maybe that is
for this part of the evolution.
Yeah,
anyway,
the
right?
body, mind, spirit tripod, that we've
Right.
been working on. And I'm a strong believer that the emotional clearing, emotional work, also even, down to past lives work. I used to do with the clients with the past lives work. And I remember this one particular client was very interesting. I was working on her lungs, and all of a sudden I got this image that one of her past lives was about drowning accident. She was in on the boat and was having issues with it. It was a very difficult thing that I was seeing in my mind. So I was very gentle about bringing this into the conversation, but we worked on the breathing for a long time. And she started to really cough up some of the almost like a phlegmy, watery stuff out of her lungs. She was able to clear that, so what I'm trying to do is that it's one thing to do the past lives work, or you could do the karmic work, you can do the emotional clearing, you could do chakra clearing, all those things you can do. But if it doesn't coincide with where those things are held in your body, and if you don't release them, then they are just going to find their way into the 800 square foot space of your lungs. And so over the years, I used to do a lot of liver work. I did a lot of kidney work. I did a lot of adrenal work. I would focus on all kinds of other organs like large intestine. And I would just kind of throw in the breathing exercises. But what COVID really taught me was where it was concentrating on, which was almost all in people's lungs. That's where they were concentrating on. And this was a way that they was messaging me saying, listen, Masami, I get that you want to focus on the people's brain and neuroplasticity and your heart and heart opening and but what about the lungs? Lungs hold all your past history, all your information, all your feeling of not enough and anger and rage and betrayal and sadness. Why aren't you working much more on the lungs space? And one thing, this is the last thing I'll say about the lungs, because I could go on and on, but it's that anything that is precious, okay, if you receive a precious gift, John, right, it'll come wrapped in a beautiful wrapping paper with a bow on it, I'm sure. Okay. Guess what the lungs are surrounded by? A wrapping.
Yeah.
It's not a rib cage. It's the rib that supports and protects such a vital organ. That's why it's wrapped in this beautiful gift wrap. Right. And the heart is the bow that they made sure the bow was with it. But the lungs are wrapped in this beautiful wrapping paper. And this is why I'm really interested in working with lungs to coincide with other work that the people are doing. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, let's go deeper into what you're doing with the lungs, and we'll get into some Q&A also. We'll make time for that and the process that you're going to lead us through. So we've got a lot to cover, but it always works out. So, Masami is leading a retreat. It's an online retreat, and it's through the special offer. April, we'll put the link in the chat box so that you can access it on your computer just by clicking on it. Or you can go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Masami26, the number 26 after Masami. And that'll take you to that same special offer page. And Masami, guide us through what people are going to, the energy and the Masami they're going to be in.
I'm excited.
I'm excited also for it. Yeah.
I decided to call it the retreat, because many of you that have been following me, and thank you so many of you showing up. I love you. I have to say, John, I have just like you, we are so blessed to be to have, I call them my raving fans that always show up no matter how late it is in Europe or wherever they are, and it's just, I'm so blessed, and my heart sings, but my lungs breathe when I think of them. And I love that. I love them. Okay. So many of you know that I can go into really left brain and teach you how important the lungs are. And then, each lobe has this kind of a functions, and then how does it come in, and what's the nitric oxide? And then, how do we release the carbon dioxide? And I can go into that also. But I thought, that's fine, but that's so brain heavy. I want people to experience. So I decided to do a retreat form of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it will start with the Friday of just coming home to your own body. I'll guide you through some meditation and a simple breathing exercises, and we'll probably start to tap into some of the emotions and begin to unfold that on, peel away slowly, because we have 800 square feet of that surfaces to discover. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but Friday will be setting the stage. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I have never done this virtually, but I'm going to have it basically videotaped to take you through on a half an hour of exercises, but it's not like a hard exercise. It's all done on the floor, or, I might create something that you can do on the chair as well. I always slip in some of that too, but it's a gentle opening of your lungs and your rib cage, so that what it houses your lungs can open up. Your lungs want to open up. That's all it desires to be. But sometimes it's the musculatures, or it could be the intercostal muscles, or, maybe fascia or connective tissues that are tightening up. So we'll open the bodies first before we go into discovering much deeper into your emotions and what's hidden behind it. This is where the movements and breath work and opening has to coincide with your work towards clearing your emotions and past lives and past emotions and ancestral traumas. We have to do the body part first. So that's going to be 2 days of that. And then my husband is going to be creating with me with the harmonium, because he plays harmonium, and I'm going to have him intuit the music that will really open up the lungs. So that's going to be included as well. And you'll have actually a chance to win a semi-private session with me. And that's for anyone that sign up. And I will be choosing 4 people to do this. And it's a 2-hour, basically 4 plus me. So just 5 of us for 2 hours.
Wow.
And you will have a 20 to 25 minutes to speak to me, and we can learn from each other. So that's a beautiful thing that we'll be doing it as a little bonus. And we will take purposeful breaks with questions to really open up the lung spaces, so we can get into this nooks and crux and, little corners with the dust bunnies and see what we can do. So it'll be some journaling and sharing. And so it'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's see, I wrote up a lot of stuff about it, but I came up with several R's because it's a retreat. So we are going to, number 1, recognize the beauty and the power of your lungs first. And then we're going to reset your breathing patterns, because your patterns reflect how you have been showing up in your life. So if you take shallow breaths, okay, you're going to be showing up to your life with that kind of like agitations or anxieties or even nervousness, right? Or if you only breathe into the front, okay, well, you're going to get front heavy. Then you most likely be missing vital energies that reside in your calves or your gluteus muscles. So we'll be looking at that and see the alignment of it. The next one will be releasing. So we'll be working on the body first, and then we'll take you, I will take you through some of the emotional debris that it might be stuck in the little areas of your lives and in your lungs. And then we'll go through each lobe. So you have the chance to work with grief and sadness. Where is that coming from? Where is it still stuck? And then anger and hate and resentment. And then maybe we'll go into the, deeper part of the lobe, which is the greed and expectations and assumptions and, even like resentment gets really stored in the lower lobes. and then resolving some of that through movement and breath techniques. So it's not just like talking about it. We'll be sharing, but we'll be sounding things out. We'll be sharing some of this through the vocal sounds, because voice is very much connected to how your lungs express, and restoring the health back into your lungs through some of the supplements that they'll be recommending, some maybe dietary changes you can make to support your lungs, and rebuilding the strength and balance back into your own lungs. What lungs do is, lungs are the connection between the heaven and earth, right? Mm-hmm. This is the connection between outside world and inside world, but it's also the gateway and the balancing point of the heavens and the earth. So we'll be rebuilding that connection back together. So that's the 3 days, and it's about 3 hours each day on the Saturday and Sunday. And then the Friday will be about 75 minutes to 90 minutes maximum. So
yeah, and if someone can't show up live, or if it's too long for those days or whatever, it's all recorded. They can come back and access and get in. And I didn't know the bonus of maybe winning a session with you was in there, which is, if you all haven't had a session with Masami, you need to. And again, this retreat for $97 and what you're offering here is just phenomenal. So if y'all take advantage of it, again, the special offer link is in the chat box. April has typed it in there for us. So just click on the little chat box at the bottom, or maybe side of the screen. If you have a PC, I'm not sure where it shows up there. But the link will be right there. Or you can type into your web browser, beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Masami26. And that'll take you to that same page. And it's typically $297 for this type of weekend retreat. It's only $97 for BTO audiences. It's amazing. Thank you, Masami. And there's a 2 payment option on it as well, if that makes it more accessible for you and helps you breathe into, relaxing into receiving this gift that Masami is really bringing to us. And again, it's so timely, because I've been experiencing, like I said earlier, that constriction in my lungs and in my breathing. And I knew that there was emotional processing and losing myself, or being out of body somehow, and going through my experience. And again, that door you opened for me by bringing in the component of greed, it's like, oh, wait, and how greed shows up in different ways. It's huge. It's huge. And it's something that I'm going to be playing with and being more aware of, because there's even more that wants to expand. In it.
Well, and you know, John, I'm sorry I cut you up.
No, it's okay.
One of the things that happened, so it was Friday and Saturday, I spent doing some of this, because many of you that have been working with me know that I'm not one of those people that tell you, like, do this, don't do that, and never do any of those suggestions for myself. I literally live everything I share with you. You know, I'm the one that's standing on the left foot and doing the reach. Like, I'm literally doing these things in the kitchen, in the kitchen or living room. And so I spent Friday and Saturday basically somewhat like, quote unquote, crack opening my own lung region and stop seeing the rib cage as a cage, but it's a wrapping paper. Okay. And so I did that. And I was on the bathroom floor with the legs up on the wall, doing the yoga like Shavasana, but with the legs up. And this was after a day of doing this for myself and journaling and tearing up here and there. And I actually was listening to some harmonium music, and I cracked open. I felt my right lung and the left lung separated, just like this heart just kind of went like this and opened up. And I just started I burst into tears. Wow. That was so beautiful. I felt like I was crying for my grandmothers. I was crying for my grandmothers from centuries and centuries and centuries ago. And it wasn't anything specific. It wasn't any incident that happened to me or to them. It was just, I was crying. And it was a glorious moment that only lasted about 30 seconds. And after that, I just sat there in the surrendering. I just surrendered to all this, my palms open. I said, I surrender, universe. I'm it. I see it. Okay. I mean, I didn't know I was it yet because it's the same night after I cracked open. That same night, I had that 3 hours of straight writing, right? Because something inside me said, you're done holding on to this. You're done. You do not need to carry this sorrow into my next karmic, who knows, my next ascension. I don't need to take it with me. It was so beautiful. So that's what I did. And that's why, that's when I thought I cannot wait to share the process that I took myself.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And that's why I love having you on here, because you are embodied and you walk your talk, and it's not philosophical. It's what you know to be true. And for me, that's the most powerful sharing that we can all do, from what we know to be true based on our experiences. So it's so beautiful. Masami, I want to open up to Q&A. So I'm going to take some callers. I'm going to promote some of y'all to panelists here. If you want to ask a personal question, raise your hand. We'll try to go through as many as we can with the time that we have, but also we want to get into this group process as well. And again, while I'm putting people online here, again, the link for the special offer is in the chat box so that you can get to it. And we'll get to questions here starting now. Let's see who pops up first for us. Here we go. Zoom's a little bit slow today, guys. For some reason, I'm promoting you all as panelists, but here we go.
Is it me?
And we'll get here. Well, since you've unmuted yourself, Jesse, let's get you to come on. Yes, there's plenty here. And before you go on, Jesse, just really quickly, as I promote you all to panelists, keep your microphone on mute, but also get familiar where your microphone is. So when I call on you, it's just an easy transition. And so I appreciate it. So Jesse, after you, please. Welcome to the show.
Not to be pushy or anything.
No,
I saw you. It said promoted you as panelist, so I thought you were choosing me, but here I am. Hi, Masami.
You did. You chose yourself. Remember, you're it. You've been tapped already. Right.
And I sorry, I was just up in bed with pneumonia. So how fitting.
Yes.
And I swore I was not going to sign up for another program, another person. I've been doing this my 50 years at least. So, and here I am, because I signed up for the course already. So the lungs.
Thank you. I look forward to being there with you.
Yeah. I mean, all the, I was part of the Shambhala community. So the meditation, all of the various techniques over the years, my beautiful teachers, but this piece, including the past life regression, past lives for, eons, and especially the ancestral piece I have found most powerful. So without going on about that, my question, well, I didn't even know. I think my question is,
okay, so before you ask me the question, okay, I would just tell you one thing that I think you could do a little bit better about, okay, is just tune into your nostrils for a moment.
Oh.
Which nostril is a little bit more open?
Oh, this is more open, the left.
Your left is more open, okay.
Well, they're
both a little bit clogged up.
They're both.
Yeah. Okay. So what I sense from you is that your brain is a little bit scrambling a bit. That would be the word.
Mm-hmm. That's a pleasant word to use for it.
Well, good, because it's not so pleasant for the person that's experiencing the scrambled feeling, and scrambling to find words, or kind of like it's trying to grip onto something, but it's not quite. It's slipping off. And so what I sense from you is the little bit of a brain fog even, and it's like a brain density even though it's called fog, it feels dense, okay? Yeah, so I want to say, I need you to, I know you had just pneumonia, so this will be a little bit tough thing for you to do, to start moving, but I want you to start to massage the bottom of your feet. So go the furthest point from your head and start massaging the bottom of your feet. especially the arches. You're going to find some tight spots.
Yeah.
I can already feel it, like just going into your foot. I can just feel, oh my gosh, that's a little tender spot. Okay.
Yep.
So really work on that area. And after you do that for about 10 minutes per foot, okay, check back into your nostrils and see if that will open up a little bit. Okay. Because you're getting a little head heavy because your brain is trying to grasp. Okay.
Yeah.
And then brain is trying to kind of like clinging. Okay. So it's a little dense. Okay. Does that make sense? So bring a little bit more breeze, a little bit more lightness. Okay.
Yes. I'm doing micro, an IASIS is a new micro neurofeedback type for the brain because it's been scrambled my whole life.
Oh, no wonder. Yeah, your brain showed up. Yeah, your brain showed up really clearly. To me. That's like, ooh, yeah, there's something not,
You got it.
A little dense in there. So, okay, that's good. I'm glad you're doing that. And I'm actually glad that you signed up for this retreat because I can get pretty left brain and scientific, and then I can explain things pretty well in terms of that side to satisfy that side of me. But this time, I'm actually not going to go down that road. I am actually going to go into the feeling side, or tuning into the lusciousness and the deliciousness and scrumptiousness of who you are. So I want you to come into this retreat with that kind of mindset. This is a retreat. This is not to fix you. This is not to learn more stuff, not to get more, okay, lungs do these things, X, Y, and Z. That's not what we're going to do. All right.
I hoard all that.
Okay. Good.
I'm a major hoarder of
information.
Learning. It's just, that's why I said I was not even going to listen to you today. But every now and then somebody from John's program grabs me, and they've been three of them, the most phenomenal people in my life. So here I am.
Oh, that's
amazing.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Jessie. Yes, how wonderful. And blessings to you. And how amazing. Enjoy the course. Enjoy the retreat.
I think private sessions are probably going to be essential. So,
well, let's start with the retreat, and we'll just what we can do with the wrapping of your lungs. Okay. So.
All right.
All right. Thank you, love. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you called yourself out. No, truly, it's a word.
Well, why not at this point?
I don't encourage it because then we'll get a lot of chatter, right? But anyway, it was perfect. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a question or a comment that came in from Maria that I'd like to address. I'd like for you to address. And so Maria,
me?
Yeah, you are special, are very special guest.
Okay.
Not in the greed way, just an acknowledgement way. So Maria writes, hi Masami, thank you. Been following your group too. And I'm going into depression and barely having functionality to do what I need. More dealing with difficulty with family, health, any help appreciated as holding my breath, eating a lot, my sleep is off, I'm taking new hormonal herbs and having homeopathic Parasolve 6. But anyway, again, I think Maria's experiencing a lot of things that a lot of us are experiencing in different ways.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would put that in a nutshell, one word: overwhelmed. That's where she's at. So when you're in the overwhelm, it feels like somebody's literally standing on your lungs with the heavy boots on. Okay. So you really need to look at your lungs and say, whose boots are these? Okay. It might be actually yours. There's like a funny scene in the movie and I can't remember which one. Okay. Oh, I think it was Princess Bride or something like that. But there's like a scary scene that there's like this giant boots that's sitting there. And then the camera goes from the toes of the boots and then it slowly moves up, and actually these are empty boots, no feet in them, no legs are in there. So sometimes those boots are your own boots that you put there. So what you described is literally a sense of overwhelm. So I just muscle tested to see if you needed a certain nutrients to help you with that. So it sounds kind of crazy that I go from overwhelmed to, hey, can we do the nutrients? But that's where your body is taking me. So I'm going to go there. So I would recommend that you look into B6. Okay. B6, P5P form of B6, because B6, and also, let me see. I get no on B1, but I get yes on the magnesium for sure. I get no on zinc also. B6 is good. Okay, so I'm going to just stick with those two. But the magnesium at night before you go to bed can be really relaxing to the muscles of your heart, but also the muscles of your entire body. So that can loosen up that heaviness that you feel, the boots standing on your lungs feelings. And the B6 can be really helpful in terms of releasing some of the overwhelm. And I don't know exactly, I haven't really looked into overwhelm and B6 in terms of the science, but this is clinically speaking, what I've seen it really work well is the people need a little more B6. Then they start to feel like they can tackle one thing at a time. So instead of, you might not be able to move both boots off of you, okay? Both sides, both right and left, but you can maybe move at least one side off of your lung, okay? So I would start there and recognize that you are describing a full-on overwhelm. So how not to be overwhelmed? First of all, start doing those nutrients that I talked about. And then also we get overwhelmed because we're not grounded enough. And we're not asking for help from the Mother Gaia enough. Okay. Ask for help from Mother Gaia and say, help me take away some of this overwhelm. And after you've asked that Mother Gaia to release the overwhelm, you must thank the Mother Gaia. A lot of us are just like, I'm released it, I got rid of it, but they don't stop and go, and thank you for taking that. Thank you. So that seals the whole transaction, right? You give, and then you give the Mother Gaia thank you. So start there, and hopefully your sense of overwhelm, I think naming it is to tame it, right? You have to name what this is. And what you just said, and even when you were reading it, John, it's like, it was just so much, right? That it was just overwhelming. So name it so you can tame it. Okay.
I think a lot of what's happening with overwhelm as well, in my experience in working with different people, and again through my personal experience also, is that these places that are out of congruence with this 5D reality that we had asked to be in, and we were celebrating years before we got there, right? Where you wanted to call it the Lemurian energies of the Atlantean timeline, 5D, the near Earth, whatever term we had for it, even freedom, whatever term we had for it, it was wherever we're off kilter with it, it's showing up not just in one place in our life, but it's showing up across the board. So the overwhelm is because, wait, my finances are being affected, and I'm anxious about relationship, and I'm anxious about my health because I need more sleep, and my body's kind of not doing what I wanted to do. I'm not taking deep breaths like I used to be able to take. It's like, and so the overwhelm's coming in also for many, because the reflection of where we're off kilter is asking to be in balance. And so it seems like a lot, but the truth is, if we come in alignment with this one thing, everything else lines up.
It really magically happens. It really does, doesn't it, John? Yeah. And, for the question about the overwhelm, I just kind of thought of another really interesting thing. And it sounds like really, where is this even coming from, Masami? But I would recommend that you look at the back of your shoes and see where your wear and tear patterns are.
Oh, interesting.
And see which side you're leaning on more, which side you are more outside emphasis, or which side are you collapsing into your arches. And where I sense from her is that I sense her arches are collapsed. So there's a flattening of the feet. So the flattening of the emotions, flattening of what you need. See, they all show up in your body. Okay. So that might be an interesting thing for all of us to look at, after this call. Go take a look at your walking shoes and take a look at how you're walking. How are you showing up into this world? Yeah.
I freaking love how you just come up with these things. It's like, it's just so in alignment. It's so different, right? It's something like, but of course, But yes, but we don't think about these things.
Yeah, I have no idea
Amazing.
where that came from, but
It came, you know where it came from. It came from source too.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Don't play dumb on me. All right, let's go next caller. Deborah, let's go to you. If I can get you to unmute, please. Deborah Sawyer. And welcome.
Right.
Hi.
Hi there.
Hi. About 20 months ago, I had this kind of what I thought was a flowy thing, and it ended up being heart failure. And I had, at the time, I had a lot of difficulty breathing. And although things have improved, when I'm in a bed at night, sometimes I sort of feel kind of all clogged up and have that feeling of not being able to breathe properly. So
that's a lot to carry, isn't it? That's a lot of experience that you just went through. And if all of us could just take a moment for Deborah, just take a moment for Deborah in however way you want to take a moment for her. Putting one hand on your heart and one hand on the belly, lower belly, that's great too. This is a lot for a single human being to go through. Yeah. So just you receive it, Deborah. You are not very good at receiving. You know that, right? So right now you just receive, right? That's all you do. You receive.
Yeah.
And you just receive. Each inhale, you receive. You receive. Make a little space in your lungs so you can receive a little more. Can you do that a little bit more? Yeah. A couple more breaths through the nose. We just send her love. We just send her light. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for doing that for her too.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
I'd like to share a perspective with you, Deborah. And Masami, thank you. It's your receiving is actually a gift for me and for us. If I am overflowing and I don't know what to do with that overflow, it naturally wants to be expressed outward. And it doesn't have a place to land, and it creates this bottleneck inside of me. So we're in this flow. So you opening, and anybody on this call who resists receiving, who resists it, what do I do with this overflow? Where does it go? It's like we do it in communion with one another. And so you receiving is actually you giving to me simultaneously. And if you can be aware of that and rest in that, what it opens for you and for me is profound. So thank you for saying at least yes, even if it was just a little bit, because my flow had somewhere to be directed that had purpose and meaning.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Deborah, I think, you've picked up, John, thank you for saying that. That's just, I'm sorry, I just want to acknowledge what you just said.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was really profound for all of us to hear. And Deborah, I would recommend that you listen to it again, maybe even just that part and receive, because I think this is what I mean by COVID and grief in lungs, is that this giant space in ourselves have collected and received so much during this last almost 2 years. And even longer for many of us, okay? But we didn't have the place to share this with. We didn't have the people that we can hug. We didn't have a place that we can just go and laugh with each other. So much of it got stuck and stuck and stuck. And as I said earlier on, that the lungs are the gateway to your heart, right? So your lungs got clogged up. The gate started to shut down. So your heart issues are not just about the heart issue, but it's the gateway that got squeaky, gateway that just got too congested, and the roadway got closed down, right? So you are taking on a little too much of what's coming in from the outside. I'll tell you that. You feel a little bit raw to me. You feel your boundaries are not being practiced. Your lungs are also your boundary center also, okay? So you've got to work on maybe more than most people of how do I protect my lung space so my outside world doesn't come straight into me, into this raw space that is already inflamed and causes you to have more fire inside you, Does that make sense? So you've
Yeah.
got to be really diligent about self-care, but particularly about how do I create really healthy and purposeful boundaries, right? Purposeful boundaries is very important. So it's not just like, I'm going to shut people off or I'm not going to receive. That's not what I'm talking about. But there's a give and take, but you have to actually learn to receive in this lifetime. That's what this lifetime is trying to teach you. You must receive. And that's hard for many of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Deborah, blessings too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Masami, I want to ask you, in part of the boundaries also and taking on a lot, what's your perspective around the collective energies that we feel and we take on even when we're sleeping? And she says she's waking up and she's sleeping with it, and it seems like a lot. It's how do you help your clients be in relation to that?
So even in the sleep, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because lungs are always very, very vulnerable, right? Because it's open all day long. So one of the things that I started working with multiple clients, also myself, this year, I finally said to my Japanese grandmother, who is in the spirit world, but she went through just very deep trauma, physical trauma. And I actually asked her to stop coming through my body because I was allowing that to process her trauma. So I had to have a very difficult conversation with my grandmother. And I lit the candle and I actually asked her, I'm done. I cannot solve this for you. You are in the spirit world. You've got to find your way to resolve your trauma and what you felt in this lifetime while you were here. That is not mine to take. So I have actually asked, and I've guided a lot of clients saying, this is not mine. This is yours to solve. And that's very important that you say that before you go to bed, because in that deep sleep of delta wave, particularly delta and theta wave, which is when your body is completely still. Okay. So you're not dreaming, you're not moving, your eyelids are not moving fast because you're not in the REM cycle. That's when you are most open and you're most connected to the divine source. You're one with all things, but you're most vulnerable as a physical body because you're an open door. All right. So this is why before you go to bed, you need to ask all your guides to support you, but also you need to put a clear boundaries with spirits and say, this is not my job. Particularly when I'm sleeping, this is not my job. This was a job that you needed to take care of. I understand with your circumstances, you couldn't, but that is not mine to solve in the middle of the night, particularly in the middle of the night. And you're not welcomed to come through me to solve your issues. And you have to be very clear. I'm very clear with my spirits. I'm very clear with any spirits that come through the sessions. Like if they're, my clients' mothers come through or my client's grandfather comes in, I'm very clear. They have an entryway that they have to come in. They have to respect my space. They have to ask me if they're okay to show up, to chime in. And I'm generally okay with it. But if they come in from the back door, because I have a back door, if they come through the back door, they're not allowed to even enter into my session. Right. So I'm very clear with the spirit world. So that's how you want to protect your lungs, because your lungs are very vulnerable in the middle of the night, particularly the hours of 10 to midnight. That's pretty deep sleep that we go into. I do recommend people do go to bed between those hours. And also for the people that do go to bed a little later, you miss out on the opportunity of delta wave and theta wave, where you get to be one with all things. Okay. You get to be the universe and you get to crack open yourself to be surrender to this whole thing. So you do want to go to bed between 10 and midnight, but you also have to be careful and set the stage and say, you shall not enter into me to solve your trauma. Okay. Yeah.
Beautiful. Great advice. And this is a practice and a ritual for daily. It's like, again, in the space that we're in, we're so empathic, we're so much more psychically attuned, we're so much more connected, that to give ourselves the peace, we also need the hygiene for it.
Mhm.
And so
And
this isn't a one time or I'm going to do it for a week and let it go. It's like really get into the practice of this and you'll feel the difference in
yeah.
your waking life. You just will.
And I would love for everybody to do this little thing. Okay.
Mm.
And so become like a little boys and girls, okay, that have just discovered this like glorious chrysalis, okay? And you've just learned it in the school that the chrysalis, basically the caterpillar is going to become a butterfly, and you just learned about it. You're so excited, okay? So what you do is you actually whisper, but you whisper from your second chakra, okay, lower belly, okay? And you go, you know what, John, can you believe this? I'm the universe, John. I am it. Okay. John, can you believe it? I'm the universe. I want you to practice that, everyone. Just go, guess what? And whisper, guess what? Come on now, everyone. Do this with me. Okay. John, you too. Go. John, can you believe it?
Can you believe it?
I'm the universe.
I already know I'm the universe, but yes.
I am.
Yes.
All things. I am God. I am love. I am all things. Can you believe it? This is when you whisper. You actually speak to the soul. Soul likes to be spoken in the soft voices.
Oh, so beautiful. Yes. Yes. And the acknowledgement and the playfulness and the ease and the wonder of it starts arising. And again, it shifts and it creates enthusiasm, it creates excitement. It shifts the energy from depression and hopelessness into one of, again, that wonder and that awe and the expression that's coming through. It's huge. It'll probably even change the type of dreams and the quality of dreams that you have as you get into that.
Yeah.
And the connection to spirit in that realm. That's so profound. I love this. All right, Masami, we promised to take people through a process. So I'd love to open to that. And before we go there, y'all, I want you to remember about Masami's special offer. Look, April's already on it. She knows my cues. The retreat.
I can't do one quick question. One more.
You can do one quick question, but let me finish with the special offer because I want to make sure that people have access to your retreat.
Okay.
And they know where to find it. So again, click in the chat box and open up. Again, it's typically $297 for this type of immersion with Masami, that she's calling in a retreat, and that we're getting into this space of Masami not just being scientific and nerding out in that place, but she is a master at. She's so good at. I've had sessions from a naturopathic doctor who, through blood test and urine test, and really specialized. And what he prescribed, and then Masami giving me one of her sessions about any of those tests, and them being about 85% aligned in what was given to me and the why behind it. So that's the effectiveness of Masami coming in and her knowing. And again, I've personally experienced this. So Masami, when she opens up to spirit, she's playing in my sandbox, which I love to play in, and it's so much fun. So for you guys to get to experience that in this retreat and being together for that length of time in those days in a row, it's really an immersion of intimacy for me. Not so linear. It's like this one this week, and this one this other week, and this one this other week. Like there's a heart expansion, opening, receiving, and giving that whoever decides to be in this group will be immersed in. This is really special the way it's set up. So I'm talking a lot into it because I can feel just, again, the intimacy and what unfolds in that as the lungs get relieved of anything that was constricting their capacity to show you who you really are. So again, $97, 2 payment option. You know where to find the link. And as we go into the process here in a second, before we take a question, We're going to have the replay of this call also. We'll send the replay link out in the email, but you can always access replays by going to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/replay. So let's take the question you want to take first.
Yeah. So do you want to pick a person?
Yes. Joanne, you have been popping up for me all evening. So welcome to the call. All of you all have, but for some reason I'm going to pick on Joanne. So Joanne, welcome. If you can unmute yourself, please. There you are. Hi.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Masami, I love Masami. Oh, I'm so happy to get to see you in person like this. $97, really?
Yeah.
We'll talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll talk. Seriously.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll talk. 3 days with you, $97, unbelievable. I'm so glad. I'm going to get to share a little bit of a dream I had last night. And you told us yesterday, your Mondays with Masami, to write down your dream. So I dreamt that I went to a doctor and he told me I only had 4 weeks to live. And I didn't get crazy scared. I actually even went into another dream about cleaning up somebody else's mess that I decided I didn't want to do anymore. And when I woke up and I wrote it, I asked myself the question, well, if I only had 4 weeks to live, how would I live? And I realized, yeah, I really wouldn't change very much. I maybe just be in a little bit more silence, but I wouldn't change very much. I certainly wouldn't go to doctors. And then I asked myself the question, well, if I had 1,400 weeks to live, how would I live? And then I wrote a lot. And it, and it was all about taking much better, nurturing myself was the end result of it. And I know that I'm doing work with you and working on that. So thank you. And I'm so excited. I was going to write this to you, so I'm so excited I get to share it.
Yay.
And I think number one, it was really important not to go into fear, because I felt like the dream was telling me something's dying. And I think, when you and Joan were having that conversation about 3D and 5D, I think that's what it is, a lot of the old patterns.
Yep.
So
that's where I went straight. When you said 12 years, I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah. In that 12 years, you are going to be shedding so much. You're going to be evolving so much. You are going to shed that skin off of you, and you are going to rebirth at that point. So this is a transitional time. Yeah, you're given 12 years to work on it. Awesome. Right. So you are in the dying process of who you are now. Okay. And you are going to be birthing into something new. That's what the 12 years is about. Mm-hmm. And it's not like you have to wait 12 years to birth it. It's the whole process is going to take you on this gorgeous journey. Because if we don't realize that we are in the process of dying every day, you don't live. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Knowing that you are going to die makes you want to be here so fully. That's what each breath is, right? Each breath dies, and then the next one comes. The exhale goes. Each breath is dying. Every moment saying to you, hey, recognize me, come back home. You are it. So that's what the 12 years is. And 12 years in Asian culture is very, very special, because everything moves in 12 cycles, okay? 12-year cycles. So I think that's what you're looking at. So you're going to go through all your zodiac different animals for this next 12 years, and you will come back around to experiencing all 12 expressions of who you are, and you're ready to go. I mean, you are going to be blossoming like crazy. So I'm excited for you.
That's awesome. Well, and thank you for the greed, assumption, and expectations, because those are 3 areas we hadn't talked about, I hadn't thought about, but they all definitely hit a chord for me when you mentioned them. And, I was trying to figure out intuitively which one is the most important for me. Yeah. And I really wasn't coming up with, they all felt like they were equally important, to be honest. So.
Yes, they are. And they take stages. You can't grieve fully and release till you really address your expectations, assumptions, and greed. Mm-hmm. They all work together. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Love you. I'll see you.
Thank you, Joanne. So wonderful to meet you. Thanks for coming on. So wonderful. Oh my God, what a light.
I know we could go on for a while, John.
Well, we can go on for a long while. You'll be back again. But can we get into this process that you talked about earlier?
Yeah, let's just do a little bit. Okay.
Okay,
And
that'd
I
be
will be
wonderful.
taking, obviously I will be going through a lot more in the retreat, but I think it'll be good to just kind of come back to our bodies a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's roll your shoulders, everyone, and maybe side to side with your head if that feels okay with your neck. If you have any neck injuries, obviously only do the range that you can handle, and side to side with your ear touching your shoulder, possibly. Good. Long neck. The top of your head is lifted up towards the heavens, And in your sits bones and your tailbone getting pulled, tugged by the gravity towards Mother Earth. Feel that you're suspended between these two amazing forces of the heavens and the earth. And then as you breathe in, notice your lung space. Maybe you have this wrapping around you. So maybe you want to open the wrapping, open the box up so there's more spaciousness. Breathing in the clean, white, fluffy air inward. Slowly through the nostrils, warming up the air. And then as you exhale, see if you could breathe out. Maybe there's some twinge of prickliness, or maybe the color is a little bit grayish in color. Maybe has a little smokiness to it. So breathing out some of that residual energy that's stuck in the 800 square feet of your lungs. Little cracks and little ripples and little corners and little closets in there. Open up one closet tonight and breathe out of that. In through the nose, the white, fluffy air comes in like fluffy clouds in the fall or the spring. And then breathing out, maybe a little bit more darker energies are coming out, but also dark colors, maybe stagnation, heaviness, weighted down air is coming out. Keeping a slight smile on your face, and actually begin to smile and show your teeth. And this time, as you breathe out, make the S sound like the air is coming out of a tire. From between your teeth. So upper teeth and the lower teeth, breathe out of that, making a sound while you're keeping a slight smile on your face. And out of all those three lobes that I talked about, what resonated with you the most tonight? Was it the sense of expectations that maybe you've been holding on to? Is it the sense of anger, frustrations that you have? That you haven't been able to sort it out or talk about it? Or maybe you just lost someone, or maybe your beloved pets or cats or dogs or even a hamster. Maybe that's what you're grieving right now. Then as you do the sound, release that out. One more time. No judgment here. And coming back to your spine, making sure that the top of your head is lifted up towards the heavens. Slight string is tugging at the top of your head towards the heavens, because your spirit is saying, we're here, we're here. And then the earth is saying, but I'm still grounded. I am this physical body. So feel that tugging that slight tension between the heavens and the earth. But that tension keeps you alive. That tension keeps you lifted and vital and resilient. So don't lose that tension between the heavens and the earth. Coming back to your breath for the last time, breathing in the fluffy white clouds inward, fill that space of your lungs with them. And then breathing out the last of that, maybe slight stuckness, agitations, frustrations into the atmosphere. And then let's bring our hands together at the heart center. And let's thank this atmosphere that took on some of that heaviness away from you, and the Mother Earth that's helping you to filter that out for you and turning that into fluffy clouds for you again. And bowing deeply to all things that you're connected to, all your guides, angels, support systems, and to yourself. Deeply bow. Namaste.
Namaste. How beautiful.
Thank you.
And in
That was
gratitude,
that was spontaneous.
I got that. And in gratitude, I want to end this call with you, really, as we're in gratitude to this energy, and gratitude for you for being the expression of that divine through you and sharing it with all of us from your overflowing cup. It's so wonderful to have you on here. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And
Yeah.
I just love you, John. You know that,
I
right?
love you too. Yes. Oh, it goes about saying. Me too.
I can't wait to take my buckets and a little shovel and go to the sandbox tomorrow and then we play together. Yeah, I already
Exactly.
have it.
Awesome. I'm expecting you there. My lungs are.
Good.
Oh, y'all, I love you too. Thank you so much for just your openness and just your just knowing of moving forward in whatever way it's showing up for you. I see it, and it's all part of whatever you're experiencing. You're helping us to transition through that and grow into that as well. So I see you, and I again bow to you in namaste, as I did to Masami. And so it's with that I send you all a huge hug, all my love, and I look forward to seeing you on the next call. Masami, thank you. Have a great evening.